Hey, all, welcome to the Big Me Kickoff. It is March 4th, 3 p.m. Tuesday. We're back from the NFL Scouting Combine. A good opportunity to check some things out. Of course, the big issue is everybody thinks that when you go and you cover the combine that you're in there watching the drills. Largely, that answer is no. You are in doing interviews, and then you're fighting with the internet, trying to get videos uploaded. Just not a lot as an internet site that we can do with combine footage just based on how the usage rules are. But it doesn't mean that we don't enjoy covering the combine, talking to players, getting an opportunity to, we really get the opportunity to cover them from high school recruits. I mean, maybe even before they have an offer, all the way up to, to the NFL. So, I think that, I think that that is a, good opportunity as, as a topic to talk really, maybe NFL in general, anything you guys want to talk about. Did not come in with much of a plan. Just a lot going on. Just difficult to come up with. I think that the days that I have a big plan, you guys really take control of the show, which I like. And I don't get any of that prepared on days that maybe I have nothing prepared, maybe not as much out there. So we'll see where this show takes us. It's just me, Tim, 79, over under 7 first and second round picks. Let's take the under. And I've seen a fluctuating number. I've not seen Ohio State with more than 3 in a recent mock draft. And I think 3 in the second round is probably likely. So if we are going, if we are aiming high, if we are highballing there, then maybe it's a case of it's 3 and 3, which is 6, which gets me under the 7. I think that it's incomplete data without having Ohio State's pro day, without getting really testing numbers from a lot of these guys. I think Quinshon Judkins did himself a lot of favors running whatever that was, a 4.45, 4.47. Either way, he was moving. Trey Henderson 4.43. I'm probably remembering the unofficial times. You watch the coverage on NFL Network, and it may take 2 hours to get the official numbers. But let me get to the point of where I see some real official numbers. We are going to, on Thursday. Thursday will be a taped show, and I'm actually taping it on Wednesday night with an NFL Draft Insider, and we will talk about Ohio State, in the draft, in the combine, maybe some of the other major stories. We'll go 30 minutes, try to hit some points, and then what we'll do is we'll try to follow that up Friday with your questions, and I'll do the best I can to answer. I'm not 1,000% sure what my Friday looks like now. I tentatively have an idea of doing the show again at 3, but I can't make any promises because if there's availability, I have to go to Ohio State. I'm just answering somebody on a message. All right. So let's keep going through there. Mika Hanna, good morning, Kevin, buddy. Well, it's 3. So unless you're in Hawaii right now, I think it's afternoon, or at least on the West Coast, it's noon. But, all things considered, there are times I could be walking down the street at night and somebody will say something and we'll be like, yeah, good morning. And it's just because I'm not thinking. I mean, honestly, I'm generally not up a lot of mornings. Oh, she did follow it up by saying or afternoon. So she caught me. She caught herself and she caught me there. And then she jumps in. Have I seen your show yet? I have not. I was in Indianapolis all last week in video editing hell. You would think for the billions and billions of dollars of economic impact that the NFL has with everything, that they would pony up for better internet. They don't. So Actually, good news today. I do get internet back on my phone. I mean, I had, some crummy over the air internet, but when you have unlimited, that really means 50 gig. And I burned through 50 gig in like 2 days of uploading videos to the site. So here at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle, you can see all of the Ohio State players. And then at our sister channel, youtube.com, I believe we have it under Saturday Glory, but I'll have to check on that. We have all the other videos we shot. I think we shot between Tony, Mark, and myself like 160 videos, I think is what he said. I can't verify that for certain what the number is, but it was a lot. It was a lot over the 4 days. It's just me, Tim. Will Howard's 4475 LOL. I don't know. I don't have enough context there to know if you are joking about him being fast or slow. I mean, 475. I've never been able to run a 475. I'll tell you that. I've always run like I've had a refrigerator strapped to my back, even when I was in high school, even when I was like a sophomore in high school and maybe 5'3", 115 pounds. Never been a fast runner. I could run distance for a while, and then that stopped. Never particularly fast. So, I think the thing is that you can go through and watch Will Howard's runs over the course of the season, and he didn't really finish a lot of them off. And one run that he did, he fumbled it out of the back of the end zone. So, Will Howard has talked. He talked at the combine about maybe not running as much at Ohio State as he did at K-State because he didn't need to. That's certainly for certain. Never did really see an explosive runner, but that was never what was asked of him, to be an explosive runner. It was important to go and pick up the chains, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 2nd and 4. Move the chains, keep the drives going, and he was more than competent at that. Bootzilla. Hey, Kevin, how is your day so far? Well, it's a day. That's about all I can say. Just trying to get through some things, learning a new software platform, which is going okay. Had to kind of stop down what I'm doing. I bet you within a week or 2 weeks, it'll be a lot quicker. I think I'm just trying to check off all the boxes to make sure I do everything correctly with it. You can teach an old dog new tricks. So that is what I am working on, just something to help create more YouTube shorts, which obviously helps create some engagement. So who do you guys think is going to be the first Buckeye off the board? Lisa Sims jumps in and says, hello, Kevin. Hello, Lisa. Hope you're doing well. Who do you think is going to be the first Buckeye to come off the board, in the draft? I mean, obviously in the first round, Ohio State's not going to get shut out of the first round by any stretch of the imagination. I certainly have seen a couple of different names. Nate says Emeka Buka. Jake D says Simmons. It's just me. Tim says a tackle. Mika says Simmons. Bootzilla says it appears to be Emeka so far. Mika, I'll get to your longer question in a minute. I think that, I think everybody's kind of hit the right names. I've heard Emeka, certainly. Have heard Simmons potentially. I think Simmons is going to be really dependent upon how his medicals were. He is somebody who's coming off, obviously, of a significant injury. He's way ahead of schedule, according to Simmons. That means that he's said that maybe he might be able to do some light stuff at Ohio State's Pro Day end of this month, but is making it sound like potentially in April, mid-April, because the draft is like the 26th, 28th, something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head, in Green Bay, that he might be able to go through a full pro day at that point. That's well ahead of what you would expect after he got injured in the Oregon game, and what the rehab is and everything else. So I think that if he gets a pretty good bill of health And it doesn't look like it's something that is just waiting to happen again. It is just, one of those fluky type of injuries that happen. Yeah, I think that he could be very high on the draft board. One that I've seen that has been a little bit more polarizing is Donovan Jackson. I've seen him in the mid to late 20s in some drafts, and I've seen him in the 40s in some of the other drafts. And again, you got to remember, even your professional mock draft types, and by that I'm talking the ones employed by like NFL.com, which is as close as you can kind of get to, the inside scoop. Not that teams are going to talk to them about who they're going to draft. And I see questions are backing up, so I will get to them. For anybody who's new to the show, if you're new to the show, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up, hit that bell. All that helps us with our distribution. We're closing in, I think, on 25,000 or 26,000. We're getting closer to 26,000 subscribers to the YouTube channel. Help us get there by subscribing to the channel. But I think that it's, for Donovan Jackson, it'll be interesting to see, because if you value him as a tackle, then maybe you have to take him earlier. If you value him as a guard, guard is one of those positions that doesn't necessarily get as much love in the eyes of a lot of people. Oh, I know what I was kind of talking to about just your draft people and everything else. So again, I'm gonna talk to Jeff Bell tomorrow for the Thursday show from Football Guys, a great website. Check them out over there at footballguys.com. We will be sure to tell you more about the show or about the site when we do the show tomorrow night. I think I'm going to say Donovan Jackson does go in the first round. I think he does, and I think Emeka does. So there's my three right there. And then when you look at when you look at the second round, what do you have there? Do you have one, both of the running backs? What happens there? Does your favorite between JT and Jack get in there? I mean, what are your thoughts on Denzel Burke? I mean, there's just a lot to kind of sort through there, and then you kind of work your way down into the third round. Is that where Will Howard is? I've seen him in the 80s on a lot of mock drafts. I've seen him going to Pittsburgh, which I know any of my Browns friends or even my Bengals friends are not exactly enthusiastic about. Their quarterback situation there is a bit of a mess. It'll be interesting, and we'll do a lot of shows. I plan on doing multiple draft shows. I guess I'm going to kind of see what the traffic is. I'm going to see if people are enjoying it. Again, I didn't really promote the show. I'm not feeling great, so I just didn't want to. You never want to overpromise, because without you, my viewers, none of this is possible. So I don't want to overpromise and then underdeliver. I certainly have in the past promised shows and then canceled them at the last minute, and that's crappy. So, I want to be good. So I need to find the happy medium between promoting a show far enough out that people know we're on, and on the flip side, not putting myself into a corner when I'm unable to do a show. Let me get back to a couple of the questions that I've starred and everything else. Mika Hanna would love to know what you think, since you're one of the first people to encourage me to get into this. I owe you, Kevin, and everyone at Buckeye Huddle. Truly love you guys. This is regarding her podcast. I will find it. You have my email. Send me a link. Send me a schedule. I will certainly check it out. I'll check out an old show, whatever. But congratulations and welcome into the world of podcasting. Sometimes you have too much information, too much stuff to say, and other times you're like, oh my God, how am I going to fill an hour or 45 minutes or whatever you decide for the show to be? Brandon here says, you see Devin Sanchez has gained 20 pounds since arriving, up to $196. He's going to play this year, no doubt. Devin Sanchez is a freak. I certainly did see the thing off of his Instagram, I believe it was, with it saying $196. I think that, he's certainly going to see time on special teams, regardless. Is he going to be able, if he's coming in and playing as a true freshman day one, Is that more of a endorsement of Devin or an indictment of what Ohio State has in the room currently? Obviously, you want to put your best 11 out. Obviously, he's here now. He's going to go through spring football. He's going to go through the spring showcase, whatever the hell that is. He's going to have all of that. So it's not like he's going to be walking in the door to fall practice trying to figure out where his locker is and things along those lines. He's going to have some experience on there, but he's not going to have any experience playing at the collegiate game. And let's already take one of the positions and say we know IGB has one of the corner positions. He came back for a reason, not to be supplanted. Nothing is given, but you generally figure that that's just going to be the case, that he's locked into his spot. So that's, you have a couple of corner spots left. Jermaine Matthews is going to have another spot. So there's going to really be one spot left in the cornerbacks if they're running three corners. If they're running, if the slot corner, the nickel back is truly a corner, there's going to be just one spot left. So you're going to have to kind of figure it out. But, I think that we will see some, rotations and things of that nature. You've got to get young players in. Period. I mean, you do. I mean, we can go back to the Noah Rogers situation. Didn't really see any playing time. Transfers to NC State. Now, there was some homesickness there, but honestly, everybody's going to go through some level of homesickness, whether or not you're a football player, basketball player, mathlete, whatever. I went through homesickness. I never thought that I was going to leave college. I was homesick for a while. That's just kind of how it is. I'm going to close my email program so that it quits ringing on me. So to Brandon's point, yes, I do expect him to play, and I do expect to see him play some corner. Day one against Texas, and I do see a Texas question. We will get to that in a minute. Probably not, but I think that I think that we will get to that point. So it'll be interesting to watch. Christopher says that Simmons is top 10 on most mock drafts. Again, I really like a site called the Draft Network, which it's kind of like Bracket Matrix in some ways, where it takes a lot of other drafts and kind of puts them together. Sorry, I'm trying to do 10 things at once. That just kind of happens sometimes, but we'll see. I think it's really going to come down to his medicals. Lisa Sims, are our coaches planning on scheduling a press conference or nothing planned as of right now? Funny you should ask. I just got a text from Ohio State in the last 3 seconds. Let me read it. I'm not going to read it out loud until I've read it because it's a text media here. Look for something on Friday. That's what I'll say at this point. So that may push my Friday show back a little bit, but there you have it. Look for something on Friday. We should get Coach Day and maybe the assistants as well. I can't make promises as to what I will be able to stream. Certainly Coach Day will get streamed. We will do that live. The assistant coaches, I will do my best. Now, they may do them at the same time. They may have multiple tables, which, of course, always hoses us because, I guess we could put up multiple streams at the same time. We have multiple cameras, but you're going to have to watch one or the other, or you can just wait until we upload them. So, Lisa, I hope that answers your question. Bootzilla, not sure why Simmons has fallen. I know he's coming off a severe injury, but still he'll be fully healed by next season, I would think. You really want to be healed by training camp. I mean, there's the OTAs, and that's fine. I mean, you like to be good by then, but really by training camp, you need to be good to go. Especially if you're going to burn high capital, you can't be redshirting somebody. And I know redshirting is a collegiate term and not an NFL term. You can't afford to do that. But I still think he's going to go in the teens. I think he's going to go in the high teens. And I mean, and that's, I should say low teens, I guess, because that would be 13, 14, 15, as opposed to 17, 18, 19. If the medicals are good, watch out. I mean, he could go 10. He could go 9. I don't know. He could go to the Bears. What are the Bears? 10? I mean, the Bears certainly need help, but I know that they've put some, I think they like their tackles. Tony Gerdeman is a Bears fan, so he will talk Bears with me some point. So I do appreciate that he does talk that, because it gives me a little more insight to another team. And let me say this, if you are a member at BuckeyeHuddle.com, be sure to join our mock draft, our member mock draft, where we're going to do 2 rounds. If we get through it quickly enough, maybe I'll throw a third one on, not sure. Everybody is taking a team and they will draft for them, and we will get that started once we fill up. We are probably, I think we're at 16 or 17 of 32 teams filled. And if you're not a member, check us out at Buckeye Huddle. I think it would be a good time to do that, get everything ready for the NFL draft, and of course spring football starting here in a couple of weeks, and maybe Southern Swing here soon. I don't have any dates. I don't have any particulars on that. If you're not familiar with Southern Swing, we will talk about that on another show. I will have Mark on the show, and we will explain the greatness of the original Southern Swing. Bootzilla says, I think this is in regards to him being top 10. Simmons, every mock I've seen has him in the mid-20s. I think it's an overcorrection to medicals at this point. I don't think that really any other tackles at the combine just like just like lit things up. A lot of times, we talk about people who slide in on mock drafts. I mean, Shedeur Sanders is somebody who was sliding on one of the NFL.com ones, but a lot of times it's because other people move up. So is it a case of other offensive tackles have moved up ahead of Simmons, or they've just slid everybody down? Because also remember, there's a lot of conversation going on in regards to talking to NFL types, as opposed to the fight at Starbucks, which I'm sure everybody saw on Twitter about that one between 2 beat reporters. But, of talking to NFL people, and you're getting sent a lot of misinformation. Let's not forget the amount of bleep talking that happened about CJ Stroud. Let's not forget the amount of bleep talking that happened about Justin Fields. I mean, unfortunately, it's just part of the draft process, and it sucks, and it's stupid, and everything else. So you just don't know what happens. I mean, if you're picking 17 and you really like a player that you think might be going 12, would it be out of the realm of potential of you having somebody leak something out to try? I mean, nothing too, scandalous, to try and drive that player down to you. I mean, it's all really, really crappy, and we'll leave it at that word. It's all really crappy. I hate it. Lisa Sims, are we going to get an assistant DC like we got an assistant DL coach? I don't know if there's necessary. I mean, when it comes to a coordinator, you don't need to bring in like a quality assurance, quality control guy. Your assistant DC should be like Tim Walton, should be Matt Guerrieri. It shouldn't, I don't think you necessarily need to bring in an assistant or whatever. Yes, they did bring in, I'm drawing a blank on the name. It's just, it's been a lot. It has really been a lot here recently. Miguel Patrick, that's it. He is coming back after a couple of years at UAB where he was actually coaching the line. So I think that is a huge get, especially with them losing Alan Clark to Texas. I think Alan Clark is a rising star in the game. I think that Miguel Patrick is also another rising star in the game. But I don't think it's as important to bring in a coordinator. I think you need to bring in people specifically for positions, because everybody's kind of coming together and coming up with the game plans and everything else. But you need to have somebody who's out there helping run the drills while the position coach is, you know, observing and doing small teaching and things like that. So that's my view on that. The good news is that there's not really a limit as to how many QCs and everything else that you can have, and they've kind of taken off of the restraints as to how much coaching can be done on field at practice by these guys. So, you know, have two at each position. I mean, if you have the budget, why not? Why not? David Whalen with a question I saw earlier that I really wanted to get to. Should the Bucks cancel Texas and schedule a cupcake in 2025? It's a little late for that now at this point. Not to say it hasn't happened. Vanderbilt screwed Ohio State several years ago. Ohio State already has a Division I FCS opponent on the schedule with Grambling. I think, losing that type of game is obviously not great if you lose the game. We don't even really want to talk about that. But, the reality of the situation is that I think it's better to lose that game than to win, throw a second FCS game on against, the Citadel or whatever. I think that I've said that I don't think that a lot of these series that are taking place in the back end of the decade, 28, 29, take it to 30, the Alabama series, things like that, I don't think those are going to happen in that iteration. I think you are going to see programs start to dial that back, win your games and get in. Now, with that being said, you can't just sit there and schedule, Manny, Mo, and Jack, all three of the Pep Boys, as your non-conference schedule and say, well, we're good with that. I think that does hurt you in the eye test. Now, I guess to take David Whalen's question a little bit further, what about 26, the back end of this series? Ohio State goes to Texas. I don't think you can cancel that one either. I mean, you could. There's nothing that you're going to have to pay a hefty, buyout fee and everything else. And I don't know. I think some things are going to work themselves out as well, because it sounds like the SEC is going to 9 conference games. So that means that they're going to have to drop one non-conference game as soon as that change happens. And what is more likely to get dropped? That really difficult game that you may or may not win, or, Samford, not Stanford, Samford. I think that we're going to see those games kind of go away at that point. I think that's where a lot of the correction is going to happen. And it's going to be a shame, because I think that those Ohio State, Texas types of games, Ohio State, Notre Dame, USC, whoever, I mean, whatever. I think those games make this fun. Ohio State, Purdue, no fun. LSU versus Vanderbilt, no fun. I want to see better games. I think that that's what we need to see. But I think you're going to see an overcorrection in the minds of a lot of people, because, God forbid, a 3-loss Alabama team and a 3-loss LSU team and a 74-loss South Carolina team got left out of the playoffs to, quote unquote, inferior opponents in Indiana and everything else. So I don't know. That's my view on there, David. We're kind of behind, so I will try to scroll forward to see if you've commented on that. That's kind of one of the weaknesses of the show, not having a producer other than myself. I can't keep track of everything. One day I'll figure it out. But that's my view. But what's your view on that? I'm scrolling. All right, I don't see anything at this point, but I will keep an eye on there. It's just me, Tim. I think JT is more like a 4. I can see Jack Sawyer at 2. If you go to NFL.com and look at their ratings, which is based on like an 8-point scale, they're very close. They're like 2 100ths apart from one another. I think I've seen Jack higher in a lot of them as well, but not exclusively. So I guess it just depends on what you're looking for. I mean, everybody's like, well, there are a couple of, defense fans. They're the same guy. Are they? I mean, JT, JT's got some great technique, but he will bull rush you. Where I think Jack is a little more tactical. I mean, I think there's a little more, a little bit more of a tactician in how he'll set you up. But I don't know. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. The worst part about the draft is day 3 when they run out of stuff to talk about and they start doing a lot of just happy horse crap on there, and we're not getting the picks named and everything else. These kids have worked their entire lives to get to this point, and we're having to watch Rich Eisen and Daniel Jeremiah, get peed on by puppies, which of course is great television. It's great television. Don't get me wrong. I always enjoy when they do the segment with the puppies, but I also really want to see all these kids have their moment. And they're men at this point. Let's be honest. Have their moment when their name is called. Oh, and while I am complaining and being the old man of the chat, we need less of non-NFL personnel doing the announcements. It's annoying. It's annoying. Now, the Make-A-Wish kid, yes, do that, please. I'm all for that. I know that, Big Brothers Big Sisters has a partnership with the NFL, letting the little brother and big brother of the year come out and do it. That's fine. But, Joe Jack Hick out of, wherever, going and sitting there and doing the Falcons, 6th round pick. I just want to sit there and just, stop watching the draft, but I can't because it's the job. I'm going to just scroll and see if I've missed anything from David Whalen. I have not. So let's continue on. Let's just keep going here. Mika Hanna says, give us a listen at Buckeye Boys. I didn't know where you were at. So that's a thing. We will check you out. Maybe at some point, if you want to have me on over there just to, have you school me on recruiting or whatever, we can talk that out. I've been scrolling through here. Christopher Sauer says, Bears just got an Ohio State lineman from the Rams today. Yeah, Jonah Jackson, who transferred to Ohio State from Rutgers. I think that was for a 5th or a 6th, maybe a 6th. It's always, you sit there and you look at these players who've played so many years and their value and everything else. It's like you're going for a 6th round pick. And we know a lot of 6th round picks don't even make the roster. So it's just like, wow, why don't you just trade me for a bag of footballs while you're at it? I mean, but it is how it is. Yeah, Bootzilla jumps in with Jonah Jackson right there. David Whalen with another question. How will the Dodgers do this year? I think they're going to be pretty good. They've got a tremendous lineup. They've got a tremendous rotation. It sounds like they may have a 6-man rotation, honestly. I mean, the Japanese players, certainly Yamamoto needs that extra day of rest. I mean, they'll probably have to do the same thing with Roki Sasaki. And then once Ohtani starts pitching, it's going to be interesting to see how they manage all that. For those of you interested in seeing how the Dodgers look, they're playing the Cincinnati Redlegs tonight, 8 p.m. on MLB Network. So an opportunity, if you want to see the Dodgers or see the Reds, that will be tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern on MLB Network. I know that because I will be keeping an eye on it. A couple of shows I want to watch tonight, but I will watch a little bit of that. Christopher says, it looks like Pro Day is going to be packed. I bet every NFL scout will want to window shop JJ and Tate if he works out. Yeah, you got to wonder who will be running routes for Will. Certainly Emeka, but JJ and Tate will probably be there running routes too. And that's always an important thing to do. Now, in some ways, you might want to just sit there and hide JJ. And you can't do that. I'm joking when I'm saying that, but you might want to hide JJ so nobody gets in his ear. It's like, you should really challenge the NC2A and see if you can come out after your sophomore season. Everybody wants to have him for two more years at Ohio State. We know 3 is impossible, but 2 more years at Ohio State. But yeah, it will be packed. I mean, Ohio State's going to have 17 guys. They had 15 at the combine. That was without G. Scott Jr. That was without Josh Fryer. So they'll have 17. Probably, a couple of walk-ons will get to go through the drill work. And then they also let some local athletes who may or may not have a pro day where they're at go through it. So, I mean, we could be talking we could be talking up to like 25 guys going through the work, and it's so easy to get in and out of Columbus. So, it shouldn't really shouldn't be an issue. I wish I would have plugged in my computer before I started the show. I will keep an eye on it. If all of a sudden I jump off, it's because I've run out of power. I was working in the living room and not plugged in. Best damn pod in the land. Has Pantoni gotten a contract extension? He's still here. We have not received any notice on a contract extension. He is not an on-field coach, so we don't normally get updates on Pantoni or director of football ops like Brian Voltini or guys like that. So let me try and see what's up on Friday, because that's about the best I can do. I mean, I could reach out to Ohio State and they could just say, there's no news to share at this point, which doesn't mean no or yes or anything. Let me keep going through here. Bootzilla saying we have Co-DC and Walton and Gary going to have too many cooks in the defensive room if we have any more coaches. Yeah, I think that it's important to have guys that are just more positionally focused. I am working with the ends. I'm working with the tackles. I'm working with the linebackers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I know, obviously, Ohio State had Joe Philbin in a couple of years ago, in an analyst role, and there's nothing wrong with having something like that. And maybe a true analyst, somebody like that, is somebody who can help. But if anything, offensively is the side where maybe there's a little bit of an experience drain. And that's not taking anything away from any of the coaches, but you go from having Chip Kelly, who's been doing this for a really long time, and yes, you still have Ryan Day, but you also want Ryan Day to be the CEO head coach, not the offensive coordinator head coach. You go to Brian Hartline, you've got Keenan Bailey, who's still pretty young in the industry, and you got Tyler Bowen, who's still relatively young in the industry. I mean, you're going. I mean, Carlos Laughlin is still relatively young in terms of years in the industry. I would probably want to have more of a situation of where maybe I had an informational clearinghouse on the offensive side as an analyst. But at this point, Ohio State's coming off of a national championship, coming off of an incredible 4-game stretch to win the national championship. I really never thought I would ever be talking about another stretch more so than the 14 stretch of Wisconsin, Alabama, and Oregon, and yet here we are. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt for now. Let me just keep scrolling here. Lisa would love to play Georgia soon. They're going to be a very interesting team to kind of keep an eye on. What is their quarterback situation? Carson Beck is now at Miami. Is it Gunnar Stockton? Is it one of the young guys? They still are not, deep in offensive skill talent. They couldn't run the ball last year, and they really didn't have any receivers. I don't know what they did in the portal. I know they recruited pretty well, but that's still a big ask. There are not many Jeremiah Smiths out there in the world. There are not many, there are not many Ryan Williams in the world that are going to come in and light stuff on fire year one. So, yeah, I would say that if you want to get Georgia, get them soon. Get them soon. Let me keep scrolling here. Mika saying, oh, that'd be awesome, Kevin. Thanks. Would love to have you on. Yeah, let's get a couple weeks out. You got my email. You know how to reach me. We'll figure it out. I always enjoy being a guest and not having to necessarily carry the show myself. You guys do a good job of making me look good. So I appreciate y'all. Christopher says the Dodgers are a New Japan team. They are. But you got to, sometimes you got to go where the talent is, and there's certainly a lot of talent there. And they also have Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Blake Snell, and they're pretty good. It's just me, Tim. Yeah, but do you really want Ohtani to pitch? Truth be told, I would rather him just be a DH. What makes him special is his ability to pitch and everything else, and makes him the modern day Babe Ruth and everything, all of that. I get it. But if I could get 50-50 out of him every year and he never throws another ball again, selfishly, me as just a fan would be all about that. That's not what Ohtani signed up for. And if the Dodgers tried and pulled that move, it would become a very cantankerous relationship. But I hear you. I feel you. Matt wants to know, what round will Tyreek Williams go? He is. Can you get enough snaps out of him out of a year? He's dealt with some injuries. I mean, he's obviously a massive human being. When he's good, when he's on, he's really on. He's really good. But he's also had some slowdowns in his career. That's something, we will talk about. Be sure to tune in to the Thursday podcast. I speak with Jeff Bell of Football Guys. Again, we're going to talk about the Buckeyes specifically. This is the Ohio State channel. This is not, a national channel. This isn't the Clemson channel. This is Ohio State channel. So I'm going to focus on all of that. So we will get to that point. Christopher Sowers, they let Marv run routes for CJ for teams. Yeah, I mean, you want to do that. It's important to do that because once these guys do it as an underclassman, when it is their pro day, it's not as daunting. They've done it. Yeah, it's still terrifying to a certain extent, but it's not the first time that they've done it. It's not the first time that they've been in the indoor facility with everybody there and, GMs and, all of that. So I agree. Somebody was saying 5% left. I've got 30% left. I'm going to try and take this to an hour. If I get under 20%, though, I will pull the emergency ripcord. You know how batteries go. Oh, you got 20%, and then it just dies. So I don't want that to happen. Mika, are you guys planning to cover Ohio 7-on-7? We certainly will cover the 2 7-on-7 events at Ohio State, or at least one of them. We do talk to Ohio State, and I mean, they can't really tell us too much information, but I do think we will know the teams that are participating. So you kind of decide, oh, well, we want to be there if Akron Hoban's there. There will be some 7-on-7s on the high school level and things like that. It just really depends on scheduling and everything else. It's certainly in the plans. That's more of a Mark thing than me. Mark will be like, hey, are you available on Tuesday to go and do this? And I'll be like, yep. So I don't really make any of those plans. I just know to keep a full charge in my camera batteries, just so I know. Mozart's Ghost. Hey, Kevin and Chatters. How's it going, Mozart's Ghost? Hope all is going well. Let me just keep scrolling down here. Matt says Ohtani tears his meniscus and out for the year pitching. Yeah, I am really concerned about all of that. But again, Gavin Lux, who now is a member of the Reds, at the end of spring training a couple years ago, he tore his ACL and was out for the year on, what was relatively a routine play. It's just bleep happens, and you just have to kind of, deal with it or move on. And it sucks. I mean, injuries suck. It's terrible for the sport, but it's just kind of how it is. So, I mean, if there's a team that can handle an injury like that to, arguably the best player in the game, it's the Dodgers. But that would be a big blow. That would be a big blow. I mean, I guess back to the earlier question, I expect the Dodgers to win the West. Then once you get in the playoffs, everything's kind of a crapshoot. How healthy are you? How hot are you at that moment? Can you put it all together? I mean, will the Dodgers feel less pressure winning the title last year, or more pressure winning the title last year and having this super team and having to legitimize themselves? Probably not the right term, but legitimize themselves for this year. I don't know. I don't know what to expect out of the guards. I don't know really what to expect out of the Reds. I think the NL Central is going to kind of be a crapshoot. I think that, the Reds could finish first. The Reds could finish fourth. The guards, I'm not a big AL fan, so I probably know less about the guards than I do anywhere else. But we'll be keeping an eye on all of that. And I do hope to go and see a Dodger game at some point this year. I have not gotten there. Whether or not that would be in Pittsburgh, I'd really like to see a game in Pittsburgh. I've seen a lot of games at Great American Ballpark. It's either 30 degrees or 130 degrees there. There's no in between. I've gone to games at the old, not the first Texas Ranger Stadium, but the previous one, before the new one, before Globe Life, and nearly died from heat stroke. It was so bad. It was so bad sitting out there in the sun. It was terrible. But just the humidity coming off of the Ohio River at Great American Ballpark, it's always just sweltering there, unless it's not. A couple more questions as we are closing in. We're at 46 minutes. Christopher Sauer says, early day 2 for Tyleek. I don't think that necessarily sounds wrong to me. Mozart's Ghost, I've been watching a lot of arm wrestling lately. It's a fringe sport, but maybe it will be something in the next 10 to 15 years. So I assume you've watched the movie Over the Top with Stallone. If not, that is your homework assignment. Get back to me. Steve, my guy Kevin Noon, do you think Chris Henry Jr. will stay committed or flip to the Ducks? I'm not convinced that the Ducks are running second with him, to be honest. As long as Brian Hartline is at Ohio State and Ohio State doesn't suddenly fall apart and the ashes scatter in the wind, he's going to Ohio State. Ducks fans, they quack a lot about how they're going to do this and that and the other, but I don't know. I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned at this point. It would be better if he were still in Cincinnati. It would be better if he weren't taking these other official visits. But here's a big dose of reality. Even if he were in Cincinnati, I bet you he's still taking the official visits. Maybe not the same ones, but probably. He's that good. He's got, national recruitment, and he could go anywhere that he wants. So with that being said, you just have to kind of ride through there. Brian Hartline got himself, a nice promotion. I'm sure a nice bump. He's not going anywhere right now. I'm not concerned. Christopher says, not a big baseball fan, but Ellie De La Cruz is a freak athlete and fun to watch. He really is. I think that it comes down to what kind of head guys have on their shoulders. Yasiel Puig, formerly of the Dodgers, then to the Reds, and now I think he's in Korea, didn't have a great head on his shoulders, didn't know how to deal with the success. I mean, I think that it coming from absolutely nothing in Cuba to, being dubbed the wild horse by Vin Scully and having all this money and attention and everything else that goes with it. I think Ellie De La Cruz is got a much better support system, and I enjoy watching him play. I think that he is a lot of fun to watch, and I hope that the Reds are able to put stuff together enough to the point to where they will be able to keep him long term, and that he will not be with Boston or one of the New York teams in 4 years or whenever his initial deal is up. Mika says that baseball is boring. Maybe better live. Baseball was my first love. Grew up kind of in a football wasteland in Southern California. We had the Rams. Nobody cared about the Rams. My dad was not a big football fan, so he didn't necessarily have he didn't have a team. He didn't really watch games. I watched games with my uncle, so it was a lot easier. My dad liked baseball, so my dad and I bonded over baseball, so that's why that's there. Let me see. Oh, Mozart's Ghost. I haven't seen that one in years. Time to revisit. Talking about Over the Top. I want to punch that kid in the face. That kid is so annoying in that movie. Let me know what you think about that too. You shouldn't be punching children, but If we're talking about a movie or whatever, that kid needs to be slapped around because he sucks. He sucks. Let me just see. Okay, I think we're largely caught up at this point. I'm at 26% on the battery. Let me kind of go into again what the schedule is going to be. I'll get to Matt. We'll put that up, but I want to get into what the schedule is. Thursday morning, it'll be a tape show, not a live. I'm talking with Jeff Bell of Football Guys. Unless it falls apart, it shouldn't. Jeff and I know each other. We will be talking NFL draft, especially about Ohio State, where its players are going. Maybe some other things there. Be sure to check that one out. And then Friday, going live. It may be a little later than 3. I need to see what Ohio State's schedule is. We are going to go live from the team room at the facility. Ryan Day interview. Don't have a time on that one yet. And then we're supposed to get assistant coaches, or at least the new assistant coaches, which would be Tyler Bowen, which would be Matt Patricia, and which would be Billy Fessler. So we will see on there. So be sure to keep it locked in. The best way to know when we're on the air, subscribe to the channel. Don't cost nothing. Just subscribe to the channel. That helps us out. I don't get your email address. I'm not going to spam you. I'm not going to none of that. So just do that. 2, hit the bell. That will alert you when we are on about 50% of the time. It's not perfect. It's not our system. It's YouTube's system. I wish it were better. And 3, also very important, hit that thumbs up. That thumbs up really helps us with our distribution. It shows everybody that you like our show. It's not going to show up on your profile or anything like that, but it helps us with everything. So I'm going to give you guys 3 seconds to hit that thumbs up who are watching us on YouTube. 3, 2, 1. Hit that button. So I appreciate that. If you're watching us on Facebook, you can give us a thumbs up, a heart, whatever you want to there. But be sure to check us out at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. Matt says a lot of spring games are canceled. Yeah, we'll talk about that more on Friday as we're kind of running out of time here, decelerating toward the end of the show. Is it a case of players getting poached? Matt Rule at Nebraska thinks yes. Sharon Moore, the team up north, wasn't so sure about that. I have my opinions, but we will talk about that on Friday. I want to sit there. Christopher says, it looks like Day pushed back some recruiting visits to practice days or spring showcase. Yeah, I mean, you want to sit there and have guys see how you practice. So it's more important to have them in the 19th, things like that, rather than having them in right now. Now, if it's a local guy, if it's like, Caden Gebhart, CJ Santa, somebody like that, come out multiple times. It just, it's not even a tank of gas. It's not even a quarter of a tank of gas. But, if you get one crack at some of these guys, you want to make sure you got the most going on. It's just me. Tim says that I'm a proponent of hitting kids. Only that kid. Mozart's Ghost, agree 100, Kev. There's no way that's Slide's progeny. One of the best parts about Over the Top was Robert Loggia, legendary voice. Whenever I think of Robert Loggia, I think of them making fun of him on Family Guy. If you haven't seen the bit, look up Family Guy, Robert Loggia, and I'm sure you won't find it as funny as I do. I've got a weird sense of humor. David Whalen is still looking forward to Kevin from the dark side. What is that? When I was dropping a lot of F-bombs on the show? I need to stop doing that. I haven't gotten in trouble or anything like that, but it is a family show. Nobody's reached out to me and it's like, I was watching the show with my kid and you sat there and you said all sorts of unconscionable words. But I do need to be better about that. There are a lot of words in the English language. I don't need to use those all the time. Mozart's Ghost smashed the like, so hope everybody else can do that. Neil Harris, good after Kevin Noon. Absolutely. I was also called high in elementary school. High noon? No, it's 3:54. So I've heard it all. Yeah, Troy B says that it's a classic Family Guy bit. Yeah, they did a callback to it in another episode. So they've done at least 2 episodes. And I think that they've referred to Robert Loggia in 3. I used to really like Family Guy. The problem that I run into is sometimes it's with NFL or NASCAR on Fox, everything gets pushed sometimes and I don't get the whole damn show. and then I get angry, and then I just delete it. So I'm probably a whole season behind, and starting of the new season. Last one, Boots, unless I get a super chat, and I'll stay longer for a super chat as long as I have electricity. What do you think about Bruce Pearl saying SEC is still better than the Big Ten? Says Ohio State only plays 3 good teams a year. Okay, Bruce. Well, he's also a well-known cheater in basketball, so he just needs to stay in his lane. I understand wanting to carry the conference banner and everything else, and that's all well and good, but the SEC was not that good last year. So the timing of him delivering that statement is asinine. It's just really, really, really dumb of him. So that's what I think about that. David Whalen, not F-bombs, just funny comments, pithy statement, and witty banner. I'm sorry that I'm not pithy today or witty. Again, I'm just trying to keep on keeping on at this point. I'll maybe explain it at some later date, but just a lot going on right now. But until then, I want to thank everybody, 175 watching right now between 4 various platforms that we're on. Be sure to, check us out at BuckeyeHuddle.com. You can get all the greatest Ohio State coverage at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Tom, Tony, myself covering the team, Mark Gibler covering recruiting, Ross Fulton and his team of analysts covering X's and O's, making you a better football mind. So all of that at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Check us out there. And be sure to watch all of our shows here, not just my show, but especially my show, but also Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning, Buckeye Weekly Podcast, the Skull Session Recruiting Podcast, Buckeye Banter, which is a new series with interviews with former Buckeyes that we have as well. Check all of that out. But until then, I'm going to get this computer on a charger, and I'll talk to you all very soon.